Welcome to Fabulous Women Over 40, hosted by celebrity stylist Kara Allan. Join Kara as she interviews amazing women, sometimes younger and amazing men as well, in their 40s and beyond. Here's Kara with our Fabulous Woman of the Day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fabulous Women Over 40, where we curate conscious conversations with women and men who are impacting the world. I am your host, Kara Allan, celebrity stylist and personal brand image consultant. And today, my guest is best-selling author, financial therapist, teacher, and wealth coach. I present the fabulous Barbara Huson. Hey, Barbara, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you. It's so good to talk to you.
It is. It's so glad that we could get through all of our technical difficulties today. And so we just got to roll with it. Okay. So I read your book, Prince Charming Isn't Coming, some years ago, and Secrets of Six-Figure Women. And I love them so much. So when I was in Regina, her mastery program, and I didn't get to meet you there, but you were on stage. And after that, you had more books that I bought, Overcoming Under-Earning, Sacred Success, and I recently bought Rewire for Wealth. So I am a huge fan. I love everything that you're doing, and you're just the best. So.
Thank you, and my publisher thanks you.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I've recommended your books to so many people, and I'm sure they've changed other people's lives besides myself. So we appreciate having you.
Thank you. That's sweet of you to say that.
Of course. So tell me about your family and how was it growing up with the half of the H&R Block that we know of, the tax gurus. How was that for you?
It was great. I mean, I had a great upbringing. My father was the R of H&R Block, and he did not believe that women should make or manage money. Yeah. And the only advice he ever gave me about money was, don't worry. That was great advice. I didn't want to worry. I just wanted to spend it.
Right.
And I married a man who was a stockbroker. I mean, it's perfect. So what I found out very early in my marriage is that he was a compulsive gambler. And every year I find out many times a year that he was gambling my money, my inheritance away. And I continued to let him manage the money for 15 years because that's how tough I was and intimidated. Like anything financial. Finally, after 15 years, we got a divorce. And I just decided money is not my thing. I just didn't want to deal with money. But the universe has plans for me. And I got tax bills for way over $1 million, almost $2 million for my taxes. My ex didn't pay for illegal deals he got us in. I did not have anywhere to consider that, not even close. My ex had left the country. My father wouldn't lend me the money. I had three daughters. One was just, they were young, and one was just a baby. I was not going to raise them on the street. So I went to classes, I read the books, I did all the things you're supposed to do. My eyes would glaze over, my brain would fog up. I just felt terminally stupid. But I was committed. I was like this mama bear. I couldn't do it for me, but I had to do it for my kids. And I swear, Kara, I believe that when you are committed, like down to your toes, no backdoor commitment, the universe evolves to help you reach the goal. So at the time, I was a journalist writing for the San Francisco Business Times, and I was hired for a writing project to interview women who were smart with money. And it was amazing. Those interviews changed my life. I not only got smart about money, but I wrote my first book, Prince Charming Isn't Coming. How women get smart about money, and suddenly I had this whole new career. I was traveling around the country doing financial education for women, but I couldn't make money.
Wow.
So I decided to interview women who made a lot of money, and I started making six figures before I even finished writing my next book, Secrets of Six-Figure Women. And now, 7 books later, here I am, talking to you as a financial expert.
Wow, that is so... You can't even make that up. Like like the synchronicity of everything is everything there. I don't even know what else to say. But so when you were interviewing these women, what was the common theme you found with them and their ability or their mindsets around making, spending, saving, investing money?
What I realized, it wasn't, this was really what changed it for me. This is what shifted everything. I realized it wasn't what they were doing. It was how they were thinking. And when I changed my thinking, that changed everything. I realized they had each come to a series of realizations, 7 in all. And when I incorporated those realizations into my thinking, that's when my behavior changed completely. It's like the veil lifted. And I know the first realization, one of the big ones for me, is they all said, no one's going to do this for me. They all came to a point where they said to themselves, some form of Prince Charming isn't coming. So this is to be to me. And I really believe that harboring so many women harbor a rescue fantasy, and it may not even be a man. It could be just something we think will save us financially, something, I don't know, anything. When giving up that rescue fantasy is the most important decision we can ever make. And that's when things started taking off.
Wow, I love that. That's definitely that's the whole premise of your first book for sure.
Yeah.
So then after you started making more money, how did you figure out how to really, since you didn't have any formal education around it, or like even though you took all the classes and all the things, how did you learn how to start investing and saving and things like that?
Well, what happened is, as I was doing these interviews, and I realized, okay, no one's going to save me. Not an inheritance, not a man, not a job. Nothing's going to save me. I kind of did it strict, but I knew I had to do it. And so listening to these women, how they got smart about money, because no one pops out of the womb knowing how to invest, knowing how to manage money.
No.
Hearing how they did it really enabled me to adopt what they did and move on from there. So I did. So after that, I was able to read. I was able to take classes. I was able to talk to people. And what I did is, I remember how many of them that I was interviewing tried for the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal. I couldn't understand a word it said. That sucker comes every day. I could never read it. So I did something really smart. I started doing 3 things that turned it around. So every day I'd read something about money. Maybe I would just put the Wall Street Journal on the kitchen counter, and I just walk by it. I call it the Osmosis School of Learning. And I just glance at it. Honestly, it's familiarizing yourself with the jargon, with the current trends. So every day I read something about money. And then the second thing I did, I started talking. These women taught me so much. So every time I'd meet somebody, I asked them how who was smart about money.
Right.
I asked them how they got smart. And I think it's our women, we don't talk about money. We'll moan and groan about it. But, when's the last time you went out to lunch or went out to tea with a friend or a colleague or a family member and said, how did you get? What did you do? What's the best advice someone gave you? What was the worst mistake you made? What advice would you have for me? And so I just started talking and reading and talking. I started noticing after about 4 or 5 months, I started understanding more and more. And then the third thing I started doing is I started putting aside I started setting up this automatic investing. And I get a small amount transferred my checking account to my savings account every month. And what I realized is you don't miss what you don't see. So by reading every day, by talking every week, and by saving small amounts every month, I was amazed at how quickly I progressed, because I realized that small steps consistently taken that lead to remarkable results.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And man, yeah, because you don't miss what you don't see, for one. Just putting it away before you even get the chance to spend it or do anything with it makes a lot of difference.
Right.
And so with now, and I know you talked about this with Regina when we were in her mastery program, and she talked about how her husband had kind of similar things, right? Had some tax bills and things like that. So I know that most women don't necessarily want to talk about with their. It's sort of a taboo thing, right? To talk about your money. Like, people don't want to say how much they make or what, but it makes sense to talk about, well, how did you get smart about money? Because that's less pervasive or less, whatever, because nobody you're not talking about how much you make or whatever per se,
Right.
but
Right.
having an understanding of, like, well, how do you know how to spend your money or save it or where to invest it and things like that? That's a conversation, and probably more often we should do that, I would think.
And what I found is that people were so open and willing to share. People love to help.
Mm-hmm.
People are very, for the most part, people are very generous with their stories and sharing their knowledge and their experience and their skills. And so it was extremely helpful for me.
I love that. And so now that we're in the middle of, an interesting financial situation in this country, what would you say for women now? Like, especially women who are single moms or, and that are entrepreneurs.
I don't care if they're single moms, if they're no moms, if they're old, if they're young. I don't care. Let me tell you, getting people say, oh, I don't care about money. I don't care about money. It's not about money. This is what I realized. So I've been doing this for 30 years. And I realized 30 years ago, as I started interviewing these women, that women's difficulties, their issues with money, have very little, if anything, to do with money.
Mm-hmm.
It has everything to do with their fear of or ambivalence.
Interesting.
Because I believe we don't understand power from a feminine perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And my definition of power is a powerful woman is someone who knows who she is, who knows what she wants, and expresses that in the world unapologetically. So essentially, our fear of power is our fear of becoming all we can be.
Mm.
What it is, we need to become a container that can attract, that can hold, can keep, and grow our wealth. And so if you look at it, if you look at any problem with money, if you look at any issue in a relationship with money, you will see it is really about money. It is about power. It's about who you have to become. And I think that's the key with it.
Hmm. So how would you suggest women get over that? Like, what's the first step of claiming your power, around money or just in general, anything, but especially around money? Because, if you're somebody who doesn't, again, you're not relying on a man or inheritance or whatever, you just want to be powerful around money.
Even if you are relying on a man, and even if you have an inheritance, it's really important to understand it. Because money is the basic building block of life. We depend on money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And money is what money allows us to do. It allows us, it helps us to have a better life. We imagine the things we can do for the people we love and causes we feel really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing, if really women want to take their power back, start asking themselves what I call the power question. And the power question is, what do I want? Not what does my husband want, or my children want, or my parents want, or does this culture want. Not what should I want, what ought I do. No, it's what do I want. And you start there, and you look at really what you want. And then the second step is you see, after getting what you want, is the willingness to do what you fear.
Mm-hmm.
The success in anything, I don't care if it's making more money or losing more weight, it always lies just outside you. So you ask yourself, what do I want? You look at what you're scared to do as you realize it, and then you stretch. You do what feels, scary and flexible to what seems impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Get outside your comfort zone. And the third part of that, you get support.
Right.
You get support from people who are cheering you on, and you really distance yourself from the naysayers, from the pessimists, from the worrywart, from the people, not bad people, but just scared to go try to hold you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Often a lot of people are saying what they can't do, not what you can't do when they're talking about things.
There you go.
I have definitely learned that. So if someone comes to you and they want to work with you in the vein of the financial therapist or wealth coach, is that what that looks like? You start with them kind of asking about their history. Like, what would that be like to work with you as a financial therapist or wealth coach?
But the first thing I do is I ask them the power question, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And we get very clear on what their goals are, what needs to happen in our work together. For them to say, oh my God, I got everything I wanted. This is just fabulous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we get very clear on what they want, and then we look at what is stopping them. And not necessarily anything tangible. It's usually something intangible, like a belief, fear, some past experience that has been with them. So we look at what is keeping them from it, and what they need to do to get to where they want to go.
And so how often is it that, how simple or how hard is it? Like, say, I don't know, if somebody just had this, they grew up in a house where the parent was constantly telling them, oh, money doesn't grow on trees, like that belief of like, you have to work hard for money and like all of that. How easy is it to overcome those things?
That's part of the work, to look at how you have been conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
What are the messages you receive from your family, from the teachers, from the church, from the culture in general? What are those messages that aren't serving you? Some of them are serving you. Some of those beliefs are healthy beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that aren't serving, we look at where those came from and how to shift the belief, what you want. As Henry Ford said, believe you can, believe you can't. Either way, you'll be right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I really rarely do individual coaching anymore, financial therapy. I only work with groups. And out of those groups, in the group, then I can do financial therapy with the group, because something happens. And there's been a lot of research on this. Something happens when women are in women-only groups around finances.
Mm-hmm.
It expedites their learning process.
Interesting.
That there's something about, in a woman-only group, women learn better. They've done studies that when they're talking about, there's a part of their brain that lights up and makes it easier to learn about money when they have that kind of support.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I have a Wealth Connection. It's an online community of women supporting women. And I created it about 5 years ago. I wanted a safe place where women could talk openly and honestly and vulnerably about money. Because we talk about money very differently than men.
Yes, we do.
You know we do. And so this has been going on for about 4 or 5 years, and the progress is so quick. Members in there. So fast. I'm really fascinated by how being in a group, if you see you're not alone, you're not the only one feeling this. I know when I was going through my money stuff, I was the only one who felt this way. And then you watch what others do to make progress. And it's very inspiring. And it holds you accountable, which is really important. So one of the things I would tell people to do is get in a group where you can talk about money as women and be educated and be coached and counseled. Get past those unhealthy maladaptive.
Do you, from your perspective, having grown up with a father who was kind of like, oh, no, worry about money, is that what a lot of women's issues had been?
Not necessarily. No. What is the biggest issue? I think it's fear.
Yeah.
Their fear of surpassing their family. in wealth. Their fear of failing, the fear of succeeding, their fear of not being right. If they have money and their friends don't, it's really getting people past their fear. We're getting me past their fear.
Wow. Fear is a big thing. Wow. That makes sense though. I mean, but that's something that, again, most women don't talk about. They don't talk about being scared of managing money or having too much or what people will think of them. It's not a general conversation.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, really?
Well, I guess they do to me.
Well, yeah. I mean, in your...
Women don't talk about money. That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean...
We don't talk about money. It's something... Like, I just came from getting my hair cut. And she asked what I did. It's a new haircut. And I told her what I did. So, I need money to keep knowing what to think about it. And I was like, yeah, that's how a lot of women are.
Yeah.
And but I have to say, something happened during the 2007, 8, 9, that Great Recession. Women started realizing they needed to learn. They needed to understand money. And so more women today understand that. They just don't understand how to do it.
That's, yeah. Because I know what I went to, and you're familiar with Landmark Education?
Yeah. Man, I've done Landmark.
Oh, that's so cool. So I've gone all the way through Landmark up to their leadership program, but I took their money seminar. And so one of the things that I learned in there was you had to go talk to your parents about money and your grandparents if they're still alive. And so the interesting thing was I went and talked to both my mom and my dad, and both of them said, oh, money was, tough for us. It didn't seem like we ever had enough, blah, blah, blah. But then my dad said when he looked at it from an older perspective, he thought, when I actually wasn't poor. I did have money or whatever. My mother felt like it was never there, but then her father felt like he never had a problem with it. And it was so interesting, the intergenerational thing. And because my great grandparents owned a restaurant in downtown Baltimore during the war. And so they made a lot of money with that. So it's just interesting how,
Kara,
you pick up that thing.
How did that impact you? What did you learn from it as a discover?
Well, I always had the entrepreneurial kind of spirit since I was a kid because I just liked coming up with ideas on how to solve problems for people. So that was always in my space. Whereas my parents have always been like, oh, work for, you get an education, you work for a company for 30 years, you retire. They're in that, industrial kind of mindset where I'm more of like, no, I want to solve problems. I want to be my own boss. I know I don't like showing up to, somebody's telling me I got to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And then to hear my grandfather say how he thought about money, it was just very interesting. So I was like, maybe that's why I've got these mixed messages about, I can make it sometimes, but then it'll go away, or I make a lot of it. And then it's like, it's inconsistent.
So you can see how their belief
affected me
towards money has affected you.
Yeah.
Even with your entrepreneurial spirit, even though you were different, you're not getting this 9 to 5 for 30 years.
No. No.
And that's the work. That's the work of wealth. It's understanding how those conditions responses, those beliefs conditioned by our family, culture, by the understanding how that has affected you. And the good news is you can change the conditioning. You can change those.
Yes, and I aim to, and especially for my children, I want to leave a better legacy for my children and my grandchildren, that they don't feel like that money is some, thing that they have to sweat and work and die for.
Let me ask you. I don't mean to change the roles here, but I'm very curious. But I think you're a perfect example. How have you been changing those beliefs? How have you been working on it?
So I've been reading more about, I've read all of your books, but then I've read other books like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Abraham Hicks and all those things, Ask and It Is Given, like changing the subconsciousness about how you view money, and that is just an energy, and it's not like, oh, you have to work 90 hours and wear yourself out to have success and money and things. And taking that money seminar really changed it, because I was like, oh, okay, I want to have this, I want to triple my income, but not thinking about any particular way that I have to do it. I want this amount, I want to pay off this bill, blah, blah, blah. And it was wild, because within 3 or 4 months of me saying that or putting that out there, that happened. And then I was able to pay off all this debt, and the money was just flowing. It was wild.
It was wild. But do you think there's a reason under that it would happen?
I think I took the lid off of, whether I believe, that belief of like, you have to work hard, that kind of thing.
You did something else.
What did I do?
One, you were intentional.
True.
You had an intention. You had an intention to up your income, to pay off your debt.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just looking at things going wrong. What I was hearing is you kind of shifted from looking at the things were going wrong to if you shifted to what you wanted it to look like.
Right.
That's the first thing, and that's important, because what you focus on is what you create more of.
Mm-hmm.
If you're focusing on problems, you will create more of it.
True.
If you focus on your intentions, on what you want, then what happens is you start telling your brain, this is what I want. And your brain will start looking for solutions. The second thing you did is you said, what I gather is you actually used the word, I want to be out of debt. I want to make more money. You said those words.
Mm-hmm.
So words are powerful. The way we have embedded those old unhealthy beliefs in our brain is by repeating the word, oh, it's hard. It's so hard to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it was. What? You change the word. You reframe, you create new affirmations, and you start repeating them over and over. Well, what happens is of the brain lighting up with the negative starts getting weaker. And you start growing new neural pathways for more positive beliefs. And it doesn't mean to take a long time.
That's true.
So you focused on what you wanted, you stopped, hopefully, I would recommend everybody stop talking about stories and what's not working and start thinking about, I have this pen and it says, turn your stories into dreams. In other words, stop telling your old story and start talking about the dreams of what you want.
Right. Stop telling the same old sad story, because then you'll have the same sad old life.
That's exactly right. So what you did was really...
Yeah, it was really cool. And it was sort of the thing, you're almost like, whoa, did I do that? When it happens, So
here's my question. Have you been able to sustain it?
I was for a good 2-year period, and then it was like it shifted, because I think my problem was I was like, oh, this is probably going to change at some point. I was trying to balance like my style business, and I am actually a notary signing agent. So like in the midst of all of the pandemic and the whatever was happening, the rates went down for real estate to unheard of lows. And so as a notary signing agent, I was doing all these settlements for people, and that's how I was making all this money. And so I was trying to, in the middle of that, okay, let me set my style business up for success when people come out of the pandemic, because nobody was going anywhere. Nobody's dressing, or anything. So nobody was shopping. Nobody was doing any of that. So I wanted to set that side of my business up once we came out of it, because I knew there was going to be a slowdown for that side. But in a way, I was speaking that into existence, right? Because it was like, oh, even though it was realistic, it's still, I probably should have spoken some different words, let's just say, because I spoke that into what was happening. So, but my style business has come back up. So it's, I'm working on exploding that, let's just say. So.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So what legacy do you, Barbara, want to leave the world when you're not here with us anymore? Like, all of us are going to be gone at some point, right? What is it that you want people to say about you, that how you changed the world when you were here?
It's so, it's funny. It's so simple. I just want the people who knew me to say, My life was better because I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't need to be about money. I want people to feel like being around me can enrich their lives in some way.
Yeah. And I would say that because I think I mentioned to you the last time we spoke, when I started reading your Overcoming Under Earning, I wasn't even maybe 15 pages in. And I got this random call from some law firm. And I was thinking like, oh my God, did I not pay some bill that's now gone to collections and I didn't realize it? And when I called them back, they were telling me about this opportunity where they wanted me to be a shop, like a secret shopper kind of thing, for this $3 billion lawsuit that was happening again for a mall management and the Lord and Taylor here locally in Maryland, actually. And they ended up paying me more money than I've ever gotten for it. And it was just the simplest thing I had to do for them. And it happened right after your talk. So it was just like, oh my God, Barbara has changed my life already. I haven't even really met her. I saw her on a stage. I heard her talk. I bought her book. And look what happened.
If you would unpack that, and maybe now it's not, maybe just you can't do that now. I'm just curious if you think something you heard, it's something internally, because everything up there is a reflection of the reflection of our state of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So something happened in your unconscious or in your consciousness. It got to happen.
Yeah, I think part of it too was even going into Mama Gina's. That was the most I'd spent on any program, because her program the mastery program is from like 4,500 to 55, depending on how you end up paying it. And even when I was going into it, I was like, that's a lot of money, da da da. And then something in me said, no, I want this. This is what I want to do. And literally every month the money showed up to pay the payment. No matter, it just was the randomest thing. Like clients were showing up. It was my desire, I think, for wanting
it. Was random.
It wasn't.
I don't think we live in a random universe.
No, we don't.
But just the way you said that, you paid a lot of money. No, I'm going to go with it. There was something in the way that you said it in your voice that had a sense of power to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. That's what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
And it was subtle shifts like that. I don't think we realize the subtle shift in our words and our attitude can make a profound difference in what shows up.
Yeah, that's true. Because if I hadn't have gone in there, I wouldn't have seen you. I wouldn't have read the book. I wouldn't have got that other opportunity. But it was my decision to say, like, you know what? I got enough money to do the down payment. I don't care. I'll figure it out. I want to do this. And like I said, literally, it just showed up. It was the
So you remember what I said? You said, what's the first thing a woman should do?
Decide what she wants.
And you ask yourself the power question, what do I want? And from that place, when you get, what do I want? When you really hit, what do I want? And you wanted that class. What do I want? Something in you shifts. And what I would suggest, remember, there's only two emotions. There's only fear and love. Everything else is either a form of fear or a form of love.
That's true.
You went from fear to love. This is what I want. And you got into self-love. And I think love is the most powerful emotion. And when you can apply love to money, love to success, you shift the energy.
Yeah. I think that's that's more than likely, that's it. That's what it was. Yeah.
So next time you get scared, you start, and we all have downs in our business. Oh, Lordy, do we ever?
Yeah.
But it's important to look at what do I want, and then shift your internal conversation to one of self-love. What can I give me that makes me feel good? What can I do for me? What am I committed to for me?
Yeah. Yeah. Having that conversation with yourself is important, for sure.
I think financial success is an act of love. It's an act of self-love, because none of us should ever have to be in a situation, whether it's a job or an abusive relationship, that we can't afford to leave. And it's a love of others, because it's what we can do with our money to help others.
Right. You can't help anybody else in a burning building if you're on fire. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. Yeah, I love that. Well, this has been such an amazing conversation. I adore you. I think you're the bee's knees, as they say in Louisiana. So, where can everybody follow you or connect with you? Tell us so that all of the listeners can definitely jump into your group coaching. I love that concept of women doing better in groups than by ourselves.
So you can reach me through my website, which is Barbara Huson, Huson, Barbara-Huson.com.
Perfect. And are you on any of the social media platforms like IG or Facebook? All of the same acronym. Okay. And so what do you have coming up that we can support you on? Anything you're launching? Any seminars? Anything that people can sign up for that's happening right now?
Not yet. I have a class going on now, so it's too late to sign up. I'll have something coming up next year. But right now, I'm focusing on the class that I'm teaching and coming on training, and I'm focusing on the Wealth Connection, my online community.
I love it. You're changing the world one woman's pocketbook at a time, basically. I love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for being on with me. I enjoyed our conversation, and we definitely have to have you back again. And yeah, I loved it.
Thank you, and I'm glad we made it work despite a technical difficulty.
Yes, that was our desire. What did we want? We wanted to have this conversation, so we figured out a way to make it work.
You always figure out a way when you want something.
It's true. I was like, there must be something about this conversation that somebody doesn't want us to have because it's going to change somebody's, whether it's 1 or 20 or 30 or 300 people's lives by hearing what we were talking about, that we were being, thwarted. And it was like, no, we're going to have this. We're going to have it. So definitely. Thanks for rolling with me because I couldn't do it by myself. You are so welcome. So thank you. But have a great evening. And yes, we will definitely be in touch and have some more conversations soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe so you won't miss our next conscious conversation with Kara and her fabulous guests. Follow Kara on social, on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Clubhouse, @Kara Allan, and connect with her on her website at karaallan.com. Also, leave a review if you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks again, and see you next time.